Alright, what's going on with y'all boys, man? Back with another video. And in this video, we're going to be talking about why GM GrandMaster rank is the worst rank ever in Rivals. Like, I guess you could say history. It's not, the game only been out for 5 months, but like, you know. So we're just going to get straight into it. I'm just going to do like, this video not even going to be that long. This is kind of more just like a quick rant video about the things I've seen from that rank. So yeah, let's get straight into it. So GM, you know, is like one of the funniest, I think, ranks ever. You will have a lot of people come in that rank and they'll go, you know, 0-11, 0-12. Just like, it just seems like they never touched a video game in their life. They never even played a game before, and they're somehow in the same rank queue as you. I'm in Celestial. I finished this season at Celestial 2. So at least in Celestial, it's a bit better. It's still cancerous because this game is just cancerous because ranks are inflated regardless. But at least I'm not in that shitty ass rank. Something I can say about GM is just how you, like how I said, you have teammates that'll just sit there. They'll not swap. They'll just sit there and they'll talk all this shit, right? You have these people that sit there and they'll go like 0-5. I remember I had someone go 0-5 on like Iron Man, and it was a Lord Iron Man, and no, it wasn't Gamer Keezy, but it was a Lord Iron Man, and he literally sat there, was going against a Star Lord and a Hela, and refused to switch. And that was a long time ago, because I was, you know, in GM. Like, I've been in Celestial for a minute now. Like, ever since season 1.5, I've been in Celestial like a good majority of 1.5. Season 1, I was like GM 3-2. So like, yeah, that was like some months ago. Like what, like 2 months ago? It's been like a little minute. But like the sheer fact that he's playing into his counters, you'll have all these people play into their counters, be confused as to why, you know, their characters are not working the way they want their characters to usually work, right? It's so odd to me because they'll look at the screen, they'll see that their character isn't performing how they usually perform, even if they're boosted, right? And they'll just kind of just sit there and be like, "What? Why is it not working? What's going on? Maybe my teams are ass. My support suck." It's like, no, you're just simply playing into the wrong team. You're playing into your counters, and you're wondering why you're just getting like completely like you know, railed, like why you're not having no fun. You like, I don't understand how a lot of people get confused on like what counters are, what peeling is, what staggering means. We can quickly go over that. If you're a GM player and you don't know what I just said, like at all, genuinely, just listen real quick. Staggering means when your team is pushing basically one by one or not fully as a squad together. So if someone goes in, right? Say we start off the fight, you leave your spawn. This is the beginning of the match. You leave your spawn, you walk out, and say one of your DPS dies, right? Now, it is a 5v6, and you can continue the fight, right? But now, since your DPS is dead, and they're waiting to be respawned, say within that time that they're being, you know, that they're waiting, your team dies. So now, it's kind of like a rotation. So now that your team is dead, and now your DPS that just died is now back, if they go and you push by yourself as that DPS, you're staggering your team for no reason. You're constantly pushing the enemy team who's already on point with all 6 players with one, you know, with one less player on your side. There's no reason to keep doing that when you know it's not working. If you're confused as to why that doesn't make sense, you should literally understand. It shouldn't be rocket science for you. It shouldn't be rocket science for you. This is not hard to like understand. You're basically constantly fighting the enemy team without another teammate. That doesn't make sense. There's no reason to like actually throw like that. It just does not make sense. Like, there's no reason to do that. Then you'll have your teammates that'll sit there and, like how I said, they'll play their counters and they'll wonder why they just can't get no picks, no kills, no nothing. And they'll be like super confused as to why it's just not working when they're playing into full on counters. If you're playing Spider-Man and you're going against a Star-Lord and a Namor, or a Hela and a Namor, or a Thing, Hela, Star-Lord, swap, gang. Unless it's working, unless you're actually getting picks and like, you know, they're not looking at you as much for some reason, then like you're fine. But other than that, if you find it very difficult to get kills on their supports, it's very hard. It feels like the team's looking at you a lot. And and just to let you know, it doesn't matter how good you are at this game. If you're literally playing into a counter and the team is like actually doing their job and what they're like supposed to be doing, and they're looking at you, your character won't be getting as much value as you would if you just got on a different character. You wouldn't be getting as much value as that player. You like, it's not rocket science. You have a lot of people come in and they'll think like how like good they are, and then like, you know, they have those games where they drop a whole bunch of kills and then they'll go into another game and they wonder why they can't get no picks. It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. It doesn't always mean you're bad. Now for GM, yes, I say for GM, yes, but it doesn't always mean you're bad. But like literally, you're throwing. You're terrible. It's not much more to say about that. I see a lot of people also talk about GM and be like, oh, you know, GM is the new bronze or whatever. And like, I kind of agree, but I disagree. I feel like that GM is still a good rank to have. If you're a grandmaster player, I feel like you're still somewhat good at the game. I don't feel like you're completely ass, because the ranks are inflated. Just to like everyone knows that, like, the ranks are inflated, like, for a lot of people. Like, there's a lot of people who shouldn't be in GM that are in GM, and I don't think GM is a bad rank at all, especially when they dropped the what was it, like it was like the percentage things where they show how many people was in like a certain rank. And like, I feel like seeing that GM was at what? It was at like 10 or 11%, and how Celestial was at like 2.8%. You kind of get the gist that like, if you was to look at stats in any other game, right? Celestial would be what GM would be in any other game, if that makes sense. So you can kind of look at GM as like a master's rank, and even then, at a master's rank, GM should be around, in my opinion, it should be around like 7 to 5% of the player base. Because if Celestial is you know, 2.8, GM I feel should be around like 5%, or like, you know, like how I said 6%. Shouldn't be none too much higher than that. But other than that, I feel like this rank is just like cancerous. I remember like it like, no one understands when their team comps aren't working. Like, if you know your team isn't playing dive and they're playing more of a poke, you know, type comp, why are you going to keep complaining when like your dive isn't working? If dive isn't working and your team's not playing dive and you're the only one playing dive, don't you think you should just go with your team comp? Now, if the dive is working for you and your teammates are kind of struggling to get picks or whatever, and dive is working, and maybe you should, you know, then I guess you could argue they should swap too. But it depends on how well it's working, because it could just work solely because you're the only one that's like, you know, playing dive, and the team doesn't have time to look at you and they're looking at your teammates. So it's all situational. But like, you know, I feel like, you know, if you play the game, you should understand it. This shouldn't be too difficult, but apparently a lot of people in this rank have a hard time understanding that. So, you know, I feel like it has to be said a little. But I don't know what else to say about this rank, because a lot of people, you know, they complain about this rank. They always say how it's like super, like, what's the word, like, I guess you could say not stacked, but like, well, yeah, inflated. Just like a lot of like shitty ass players are in this rank that don't deserve to be in this rank, and I can agree. I remember when I was in that rank, it was like it was bad, because a lot of people, like, how, like, you know, just to like reiterate what I'm saying, a lot of people are in that rank for no fucking reason. I should not have my teammates playing against their counters wondering why they can't win. You're playing against a counter. You should understand that what counters means that your character will not work. You got to understand your character's not going to work. It doesn't matter how good you are. If you're playing Hella, you could be the most goated Hella. But if you're playing against a full dive team and they are literally, you got Black Panther, Spider-Man, Venom, and Captain America, and and they got 2 good supports. They got a Mantis and a Cloak and Dagger, and they are full sending it for you every single time with no remorse. And let's just say, to add to it, Thing and Namor are banned, you know, just to add to it, and you sitting there and you just wondering why you just keep dying. Get off and swap to somebody else. There's no reason you should be confused why your character's not working. You can't just slam a character into every team comp and hope it works. Now, I know you can do that sometimes. There are certain characters that you can do that with, but majority of the time, especially with dive characters, it's not going to always work. And vice versa. If you're going against dive and you're playing poke or whatever, and you're getting dove a whole bunch, and you don't have a lot of CC to like kind of counteract that, and like, you know, do anti-dive. There's a lot of anti-dive characters, by the way, but like, you don't for some reason have enough, you know, I feel like you should just, you know, get off the character and play somebody else, especially because we're in ranked. It's not like, you know, it's not like it's fucking quick play. I feel like this is all simple knowledge, but apparently we're, you know, this is kind of difficult for people to understand. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say about this rank. I didn't want to go too in depth with like much, because I feel like there's a lot that can be said, but a lot of it's just going to be like the same old in my opinion. I don't know. I feel like that's all that needs to be said about this rank. It's pretty shitty, and yeah, so hope you guys enjoyed this video. See you guys in the next one. Stay tuned for more, and peace.